Hello everybody, welcome to today's session. For those of you who don't recognise my voice, it's Ollie this week, and we'll be covering the automated sales and purchasing in Prima. If you've got any questions while I'm going through any of this or after the session, Mike will be on the live chat. We'll be able to speak with also at the end of the session. Okay. So first of all, we're going to go through actually physically setting up the tasks in Prima to be able to perform the automated sales and purchasing. So if I just log into the administration area, okay, so for the sales side of things, so this is imported orders coming through from your Prima Go web store, for example. So for the sales, it would be in your system keys. And then if you go to the option for sales system keys, okay, at the moment it's in a bit of a random order, so I'll just suggest sorting by the key data. Okay, so at the top there, next to the key info, you've got all your description as to what each one is. So if you drag it across, you can see more info on those ones. So the top line, you can see there the maximum value on an order line that can be set to automatically purchase. So this is an order that's coming through from your imported orders, and you want to say, well, all order lines set over £500, £200, whatever it may be that you want to monitor. This is going to prevent that order from being automatically put through the sales side of things. So, for example, you've got an imported order through from the Prima Go store. 3 of the lines equal 250 quid, so it goes over to 750. And then you want to make sure before that order is put through the system, you've got the option there to make amendments and automatically put it through if this criteria is met. Otherwise, it's going to be managed by yourselves in terms of going into the imported orders and authorising those orders. So, in effect, what the automation is designed to do is, depending on this criteria you set within your administration, is allowing orders to automatically go through the system without any user intervention in terms of authorising orders, unless there's an example that doesn't meet this criteria. So an example customer that uses it at the moment, they've got it set up on their dashboard so they can see the outstanding imported orders and sales orders and requirements. So if any of the criteria isn't met, that'll flag up on the dashboard, so they check like every hour or something, and then they can see then, oh well, this order's not gone through, they must not meet the criteria of £500. You can go in then and say, well, actually that's okay to put through, and then you can monitor it that way rather than just going through straight away. So you can put restrictions on there, or you can just set it so that everything that comes through from the imported orders side of things can go straight through to purchasing, which I'll come on to in a moment. So the sales system key side of things is just the point of allowing the imported orders to automatically push through the system and be available for purchasing as well. So on the sales side of things, you wouldn't actually need to do anything. So a way you could start off with it could be a customer that you trust to put through the orders, right? They put orders on, and then you can monitor it in terms of setting your criteria. Then the orders that they put through will go into your buying. So then you can do your buying and do it that way, or you can have it set so the imported orders will automatically authorise. And then on the purchasing side of things, you can monitor that then before you do the automated purchasing. So a few ways you can manage it. If you have got any questions whilst I'm going through it or after the session, then just hang around. I think there'll be a few questions on today's session. So what you've got there is you can see the maximum value in order line can be set. You can set maximum values on orders. So rather than setting the maximum against a line, you can set it against a whole order. Again, with the margins, so for example, you may not want a margin to go through that more than 99% or something like that, but you want to make sure there's a minimum margin of 1%, 5%, 10%, whatever it may be per customer. So you've got the options within here. So you look at the minimum and maximum values and margins first of all. So if you sort by the key data, that'll be your top 6 options there as well. Okay, number of days in advance to auto set the required date on the sales orders and quotes, so you're going to want that to be 1 to the next day. And then there's a few more options. I won't go through all these today, but you can see there if you just scroll across the options as to what you've got. So what you'd want to do is set the top 6 if you're going to have a specific value or margin, and then if you go to this one here where it says enable order value check, yes, enable for all P, etc. This is then when you're allowing the automatic side of things to go through. So if you set it to Y, that's then going to allow you to have this value check and do it that way. Likewise, the minimum maximums, you've got the enable the highline value check. So if you say I want to have a minimum margin on a line, you just need to find that to enable it. So this is the value, and then this is the key. So any that have got a number in there, that's going to be a value, and any that have got like an N or a Y in there, that's actually physically enabling that to go through. So I've just got open on another administration there an example of a customer setup. So you can see they've got set enable highline value check on auto purchase, likewise the order value, the line margin. They've set that also Y, and then they've set the values in there as well. So that's an example of how it's set up. So if you're watching this back, you can pause it and look through that. But like I said, if you've got any questions, you can put that through. We're going to be setting up a user guide as well for the automated setup. So I'm hoping to have that set up for next week. So if you want to request that, just send it through to support and we can send it on to you, or on the live chat as well. Okay. So just coming back to the test database. So that's the imported orders side of Prima. So anything coming through from your Prima Go, for example, that can be automatically put through to purchasing. So once you've set that up, you may want to set up the automated purchasing as well, which is done by suppliers. So if you go to the automation section, and then it's the auto purchase setup. Okay, so on the test database, we've not got anything set up. So what you need to do, add auto purchase entry. So this is then going to give you the options as to what you can add. So in terms of the configuration, what you've got in options are your suppliers. So what you've got set up for EDI at the moment. So you've got your vows, spices, etc. You select your supplier from the list that you want to set up the automatic purchasing for, and also your delivery type. So it may be the case that all direct deliveries to begin with, or forever, may be the case that you want to have that set up for VOW always to go direct, for example, or for it to be automatic, that is. So if you put a sales order on for a customer, it's going to be direct. You don't have to do the purchasing if you set up VOW and a direct delivery, as long as those lines are for VOW, of course. Enable auto purchase. So if you're not going to set up, it's not going to do it, but you just want to make sure that's set to yes. Checking stock, so making sure that the order can be fulfilled before it's purchased. So an example of this would be you've got 5 lines on an order, all for VOW, all going to be put through the auto purchasing, but what will happen is the lines will go into requirements from your sales side of things. Then your EDC is going to check your requirements list as to say, is this set to auto purchase? If it is, yes, I need to check these parameters now. So if it checks for stock against the lines, 4 are available, one isn't, that'll then reject that order and mark it as a manual purchasing. So that'll then stay in your requirements list for you to go in and say, well, this is the line that's out of stock. It'll put notes in against the line as well, and then that way, by having the notes, and you can see, well, I need to swap this over to spices or Antalis, whatever it may be, and then fulfill that order and push that through the purchasing side of things. So rather than it blocking one item, it's going to block the whole order if the stock is set to check stock yes. So if it's set to no, it's not going to be bothered. It'll let it go on back order, and then that'll just go through to VOW regardless. So if you're majoring with a certain supplier, you want to make sure that's set to no, because it's going to go through them anyway. Allow multi-suppliers. So if you've got an order of 10 items, 5 are for spices, 5 are for Antalis, for example, you want to set that to yes, and then it can be put through all the different suppliers, rather than blocking an order if all the lines aren't set to one particular supplier. So if we set it up this way, it's not going to check stock, it's just going to go straight through to VOW on a standard delivery type. So any orders that you put through as a standard delivery would go through if we save this now in here. Okay. In terms of how it's set up in Prima, it is a company basis. So company by company, you would set them to be enabled for automated purchasing. So if I go to 1 second. I'll just search for a customer. Okay, so what you want to do is when you go to the company you're setting it up for is the customer tab. And then from within there, you've got your options here to auto purchase. So if this is ticked, depending on the setup in your administration, that'll then allow this customer to be able to be available for the auto purchasing. Also on this point, going back to the imported orders, here's the tick box for that as well. So auto authorize external orders as well. So you want to make sure that's ticked. Also within the imported orders, just going back to that again. There's an option as well where it has to have an order source set, so whether a order reference or a cost center is compulsory, that needs to be set as well. So that'll block any automated orders going through if you've got those ticked and there's nothing set as well. Okay. Yeah, so you'd set that company by company for the auto purchasing, and then that would go into your requirements. So just an example. You've put through a manual sales order rather than from the web store for this Athlone Town FC company we're just looking at. If it's set to enable auto purchase, it's all for VAW as we've just set up in the administration. That'll then go into your requirements. So the likeliness is your EDC is going to be running. If it's not, obviously the automated purchase won't go through. But if it is running, it'll look at the lines within here that is enabled. So if I scroll to the right, so you can arrange these columns as well, but if I go to the very right, what you're going to have is EDI count and also the auto purchase. So if your EDI count is more than a number of zeros, if it's 1, 2, 3, etc., that means that the EDI order has been blocked for whatever reason. So if the item's been discontinued, if the for whatever reason, split packs or something, if that supplier is saying that this order can't go through, you're going to have a value as to how many times this has been pushed back into requirements. So if your automated purchasing is carrying on trying to purchase an item that's discontinued, you'd be able to see there within the EDI count whether that's the case. The auto purchase column would be, if it's set to yes, that'll be picked up by your EDC, so ignore those. So like I said, likeliness is it's going to be picked up straight away, so you probably won't see any of those. But if the order's been rejected, or if the stock can't be met, there would be notes against the line, so the notes would show in the notes column, wherever that is in this one, so here. And if you scroll to the very right, the auto purchase would then be set to when, so your notes would say stock is set to 0, X, Y, and Z, whatever it may be, and then your auto purchase here would be set to no. So then you can go in there, then make any changes to the product, switch it to another supplier, or you can then, if it's a particular customer you're happy for it to go back order on, you can go through and do that automatically. So that's how it would display within your requirements. And going back to the dashboard point, so if I just close that, as you can see on my dashboard, I've got a lot of tiles open there, but what you'd need to have is your imported orders. You'd see there as to, if it's 17, you can tell that your administration is set up to be automatic for orders over £500 won't go through, so then this will be then the orders that you need to check on, or whether the margin's not been met or something like that. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to go through today. Like I said, there may be a few questions today's session, so if you want to hop onto the YouTube live chat and ask away, don't hesitate to do so. For next week's session, if you've got any topic suggestions, please let us know. We can take that into consideration and put it onto the Prima Help Twitter and put a poll on for that. I think it is more likely to be the release note, so if you do put a suggestion through, we'll put it into next week. So I think we'll be going through the new features of the next release next week, but if not, that'll be the week after. Yeah, Michael placed in the Prima Help Twitter page in the YouTube chat as well, so scroll down and click on the link and give us a follow if you haven't done so already. And we'll probably put the poll out in the next hour or so. So yeah, thank you for your time today. I hope you all have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week. Cheers.